Welcome to Dose of Social, your recipe for social media success. I'm Lindsay Maup.
I'm Kayla Pearlstein.
And this is Dose of Social. Woo!
We are super excited for today's guest. We have Tammie Osborne, who is the founder of the Sapphire Suite, our amazing sponsor for season 2. So Tammie, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here.
Tammie, thank you so much for joining us and being a sponsor of Dose of Social for season 2. We really appreciate it. We're so excited to chat with you today. So as we get started, could you tell us a little bit about yourself and your background?
Sure. Well, I'll forward back to you. No, I'm just kidding. So I am a nurse by background and transitioned over into the technology world of healthcare IT consulting. And through that process, then COVID hit and came off the road, and working from the dining room table at home was not very productive, very hard to stay focused, very hard to, feel professional, and also hard to conduct business, from the dining room table. And I'm very much relationship driven. I like being out with the clients that I work with, and that was just proving to be challenging. And so just kind of wondered, where do all the other business owners go? And so that's how kind of the Sapphire Suite came to be. And I think we're going to talk about that probably a little bit later. But, me personally, married 32, 33 years and have 3 grown children, 22, 21 and 19. I always have to stop and think. So I had 2 in college at the University of Tennessee in Knoxville, and then our oldest has Down syndrome, so she's home with us.
Oh, nice.
Living her best life.
Oh, yes, she is. I see her on Instagram.
And living her best life.
I love it. My girls were 2 and kindergarten during COVID, so it was a very interesting time to be at home and working, and small children running around in the Zoom background.
Yeah, I was fortunate in that mine were in, they were in high school. Probably not as fortunate for them, but I was in high school. I always share that COVID was really a blessing for me in terms of, after being a road warrior for so long, being forced to come off the road, and the timing of that was perfect, of just where they were in their high school journey and sports and all of those things. It gave me more time at home with them, and so I wasn't active on a project for a while, and it was perfect. But they were on Zoom calls. They were coming through the kitchen. My husband had retired and was doing real estate, and just, there was a lot going on in the house.
Yes. Yeah, the COVID chaos.
Yes.
And then, so the Sapphire Suite was born. So can you tell our listeners a little bit more about the Sapphire Suite, kind of how your memberships work, the amazing amenities that you have here?
Yeah. So we are right at 5,500 square feet. We're located right here in the heart of Franklin and Cool Springs, and very easy access on and off the interstate. We have 82 members, and we have a mixture of co-working space. We have a beautiful kitchen full of snacks and espresso and all the good creamers and things like that. And then we have boardrooms and conference rooms and Zoom rooms. We're also an event venue after like 5 o'clock, or sometimes even during the day. It's a great place to hold a corporate workshop or an event, mixer, cocktail hour, something like that. But we offer a lot of professional development opportunities. We offer opportunities for the women to come together and network, or all business owners, male or female. We get a lot of work done.
I'll also say that I am a member here at the Sapphire Suite, and the community itself is just so amazing. There's other entrepreneurs to connect with, and we all kind of collaborate together. So it's a really great opportunity.
Yeah, it's a beautiful space. This is my first time here, and walking in yesterday, I was like,
welcome
oh
home.
my gosh, it's so beautiful. And it's just so, it has a very calming presence. Like when you walk in, just the colors, and you've done a great job with branding and designing the space to be very inviting too. So I felt very welcome here from the moment I stepped in yesterday.
Good. That's what we like to hear. That was really the goal, is to create a space where people could come in and work. It's very hard to leave the comfort of your home And to go into a co-working space that's sterile or industrial, I think especially for females. And so the goal was to create a space that was very warm and very welcoming in terms of it's lonely as an entrepreneur. You need support from others. And so we wanted to foster that type of atmosphere, and even aesthetically, like when you come in, that sense of like you belong here, or you feel comfortable here. You can go in the kitchen, fix a cup of coffee, do whatever you need to do. But.
Fun fact, one of our other guests for season 2, she actually helped with the branding of the Sapphire Suite. So we'll get to learn more about that.
She's a member here.
Yeah, I love the vibe, the like the bright light, the open space, the couches,
The blues.
I enjoyed the gluten-free crackers yesterday in the kitchen. Thank you for those.
And the gummy bears. I was going to say, and the gummy bears. I think the gummy bears are gluten-free.
Yeah. They are. And they're labeled gluten-free. So as someone who's gluten-free, I was very appreciative. So thank you.
We can arrange a request.
And we can't forget there's one area of the Sapphire Suite that we didn't talk about yet, which is the Create Room, which is where we are right now. We're doing the podcast. So it's really nice to have this nice podcast studio as a space to record. So thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. The members like this. Some will come in early in the morning, like very early before we open. Some will stay after hours and use this room. This room gets used for quite a few things.
It's great. It's nice and quiet too, and soundproof. So yeah, it's great. So what year did you start the Sapphire Suite, Tammie?
We opened in June of 2022. So we've been here a little over 2 years, right at 2.5 years.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
And what are some of the challenges that you faced when opening the Sapphire Suite and opening a new business?
Sure. I think initially one of the, well, first of all, just physically finding a space proved to be more challenging than I thought. And because we were, sort of post-COVID or along, sort of at the end as things were starting to open back up a little. So many businesses had closed down during COVID. I thought that, people would just be throwing storefront or commercial space at you, and that just wasn't the case. So that proved to be a challenge. I also think that the experience of running a brick and mortar is very, very different than if you are a service-based business or even a product-based business. But if you're able to run that from your home or do e-commerce or something like that, commercial brick and mortar, very, very different in terms of just obviously physically building out a space. Like this was a completely empty shell. So designing the space, working with an architect to make it code friendly, and then working with a general contractor to finish the space out. So, your ramp up time is longer than if you just decide, oh, I'm going to start doing X, Y, Z, and you have some business cards printed and get your website up and you're ready to go. Very different with a commercial space, and also in just cost of operations, total cost of operations.
Yeah, definitely. And taking the time, you already have the lease, but you still have to build out the space.
Yeah. And so having a good landlord, also having a good location, I felt like that was key. And this was a great location in terms of easy access on and off the interstate, restaurants close by, and it's building and growing this area. You see businesses coming up across the street and things like that. So.
Yeah, it's a great space. I really enjoyed lunch yesterday at Vui's Kitchen downstairs.
They're really good. We have good neighbors. They offer, if you tell them that you're a member here, they'll offer.
What?
Well, we have a secret code. I should be careful. This is
How I know the secret code.
1,000. No, we do have a secret code that they give us. Waldo's. Waldo's are our dear friends downstairs, and
They have a great
all the businesses in this area are really good. So that has been a plus in terms of opening it.
And then what would you say makes the Sapphire Suite stand out from some of the other places people could go to work in the area?
Yeah, sure. So I think we're fortunate in the Middle Tennessee area that we have other co-working spaces that are similar in concept to us. Like over in Nashville and up in Hendersonville, but in the Franklin Cool Springs area, I think we're very unique in that our focus is on community. We are very intentional about building relationships among our members, so that it's more than just a space to them. I love that a member can be working at one of the tables in the co-working area, and all of a sudden they remember an errand they need to run or something that they need to attend to outside of the space, and they can simply pick up their keys and walk out the door. No one's going to bother their things. 9 times out of 10, someone will say, "Oh, that's Kayla. She ran to such and such. She's coming back. She'll be back in just a little bit." Or I think that's what sets us apart is we get a lot of work done. We help each other solve a lot of problems, but that comes from that sense of community in terms of you trust the fellow members. You get to see how they operate their business. It makes you want to do business with them. It makes you feel good about referring. If you're not the person for them, but you can make referrals to them, or you refer them to others, that is what I think sets us apart. Obviously, the physical aesthetics are different than sort of a big box type co-working space, and there's nothing wrong with those. There's something for everyone. But I think our sense of community and the relationships that we're very intentional about building here among our members are what sets us apart.
Yeah, I would have to agree. When I walked in yesterday, Kayla went to the Biz Brew.
Biz Brew? You do Biz Brew?
So I didn't attend the Biz Brew, but I did kind of listen in, and I loved how it was a really great community feeling where everyone was talking about their business and you were sharing tips and advice and feedback. And I think that's something that's really unique to a co-working space. A lot of times you walk into co-working spaces and people are on their headphones and they're in their own computer or whatever they're doing, but it was really cool to see that that type of community and working together, and like you walk in and everyone's smiling and saying hi, and I think that's really like a testament to you and what you've built here. So it's just everyone's very friendly.
Nice. Biz Brew's great. We do that twice a month, and it's very informal in terms of it has a mastermind feel. In terms of you can bring an issue to the table if there's something that you're struggling with in your business or that we feel like you need, some help or advisory. It's almost like having an advisory board without all the strings attached to it, and from people that you trust. And like I mentioned previously, you watch them conduct business. But it's an area, or it's a time where they can come in and sit down and share if they're having an issue that they'd like input from the group on, or if no one has a particular issue, I will bring a topic. Like this week, I think you were in there yesterday. This week was dealing with difficult clients, because that has come across my radar.
Kayla knows nothing about that. What are you talking about?
If you are a business owner listening to this and you have not dealt with a difficult client, please call me.
It's a rite of passage, right?
Not our clients here, of course, but it is. I think you're right. It's a rite of passage, and so I get that question sometimes.
I mean, truthfully, that alone, just listening in, to me, was so valuable. Like if I lived out here, I would join just to be a part of something like that and have that community that I could go and be part of twice a month. I mean, that's awesome. I love that you're doing that.
Yeah, it's great. We have some really good conversations in there. Yeah, you learn a lot. You get to know fellow members in there, and it's just a comfortable. It's like you're sitting around a friend's dining room table, but they have a wealth of business experience or knowledge that they can help you.
Before we dive back in, let's give a quick shout out to our incredible Season 2 sponsor, the Sapphire Suite.
Are you looking for a space that inspires creativity, fosters connection, and supports you in growing your business? Located in the heart of Franklin and Cool Springs, Tennessee, the Sapphire Suite is a co-working space designed exclusively for entrepreneurs and business owners. Whether you need a stylish spot to host meeting, a quiet corner to focus, or a supportive community of diverse thinkers who will challenge and support you, this is the place to be. Subscribe to our newsletter and receive a free day pass to experience our amazing community of business owners for yourself.
This episode of Dose of Social was brought to you by the Sapphire Suite. Thank you so much to the Sapphire Suite for sponsoring Season 2 of Dose of Social.
And then I'll kind of brag on Tammie for a minute. So being in the Sapphire Suite and doing things like the Biz Brew, I mean, I'll constantly see people always looking for you to come talk to you about a problem because you are just such a wealth of knowledge with business.
Tammie and I actually met through a networking group we were in, and I would always admire her and everything she had to say. She knows so much about business, and so if I was having an issue, I would talk with her about it because she would have really good tips. So I would love to share some of those tips with our listeners. We'll ask you a couple questions.
We can call this section Tammie's Tips.
Well, thank you, Kayla. That is awfully sweet of you. I think the beauty of the groups like that is everyone comes to the table with a lot of information or scars, experience, like we do in Brain Trust, like experience shares, and similar in BizBrew where we do experience shares. But I think number one, I would say have a good business plan. And even if you are thinking about opening a business, or even if you've opened a business and you've been in it for some time now, there's no shame in saying, I don't have a solid business plan. Or, okay, I put together a quick one. A business plan should evolve and be this living document where, like, we teach a course here called Power Your Plan. And so I would say put a lot of time and thought and invest in creating a solid business plan, or at least a business plan, and share it with a couple of folks that you trust and have them take a look at it.
Yeah, that's great advice. I remember when I started my company 12 years ago, I wrote a business plan and I took it to an organization called SCORE. Do you have SCORE here in Nashville?
Yeah, we do.
And it was a retired business professional, and he sat with me and reviewed my business plan, and it was just really great and like super helpful. So I love that you have a Power Up Your Plan workshop.
We do that, and it's like an 8-week class. And what we do at the end is we will pull in 3 or 4 business owners from the community, typically someone like in the finance world, the banking world, or marketing, or a strategic business consultant, and have them sit in on the last session, and the participants get to present. They have like 10 minutes to present sort of their business plan at a high level and get feedback on that because, again, it's a living document, and I think it allows you to speak about your business with such confidence, or you are going to need it if you're going for funding or something like that. So whether it's a banker, investor, that type of thing, you are going to need it. But I think having a good business plan. And then the second one would be you're going to make some missteps, and you just have to know that going in, that you're going to make some missteps. And it's kind of how you deal with those, acknowledging that you made a misstep. And then, okay, like, all right, what's done is done. Where do we go from here? You can't undo it. And so recognizing that and being open to saying, okay, this is not the end of the world. I always tend to have that perspective of there are worse things that can happen.
What are some of the most common missteps you see with small businesses when they're starting out?
Not having a business plan.
Back to tip number 1.
Not having a business plan, but really when I say not having a business plan, like not doing your due diligence in terms of, I'm a dreamer. Kayla knows this about me because I had a million business ideas.
A million.
Are they all good business ideas? Yes, of course they are. Are they all viable business ideas? No. So do your due diligence and ask around, find people to challenge it, poke holes in it. And I think there are times that we get so caught up in the vision and the dream of it that we don't necessarily want to take the rose-colored glasses off and figure out what it's really going to take to make it work, and making sure that you are asking the experts in terms of, I think that is probably one of the biggest ones is jumping in. And it's hard when you have I love people that start their own business, especially if they have no business experience, because they're a dreamer and they believe in themselves and they can, make it happen. But I think taking time to sit down and really understand what you're getting into and asking others.
Yeah, definitely. And also maybe identifying when you do take a misstep, addressing it quickly and not letting it linger.
Absolutely. And it's easy to get into that, it's sort of the spiral of how am I going to get out of this? How am I going to recover from this? Or to beat yourself up, especially as a I'm trying not to use the word solopreneur. A friend of mine last week said, stop using the word solopreneur. You are an entrepreneur and you are surrounded by others. So you are not alone in this, which, I sign my newsletters like, remember, you don't have to do it alone.
That's great. Love that.
So are there any other tips? So the first tip was have a business plan. Second tip, you're going to have missteps. Acknowledge those. What is there one more that you can share with the audience?
Surround yourself with the right people. I think I either I posted it or someone posted it not long ago about when you ask for direction from someone who's never been where you're going, they're probably not going to give you good direction. So my advice would be surround yourself with other business owners who are ambitious, who think differently than you do, and who have a network of resources that they are willing to share with you. In other words, they're vested in your success, and they're willing to share resources with you to help make your business successful.
Yeah, I love that. And that's a really good tip. And places like the Sapphire Suite are amazing for cultivating that community and surrounding yourself with like-minded business owners and individuals. That's a great tip.
And Nashville is a great community. Nashville, Williamson County, great community of entrepreneurs and business owners who are willing to, whether it's, some of the other different organizations out there like Chamber, Women Connect, Brain Trust, those types of organizations, very collaborative and you can always find someone who's willing to help you. You just have to ask.
Yeah, I love the Nashville community. I've been here 48 hours, and it's been amazing.
Yeah, which is another tip. Ask for help. Be willing to ask.
Yeah.
Be willing to ask for help.
Yeah, and being okay with being vulnerable, too, and being willing to accept feedback. I think is also been the one. Yeah.
So I know this is something I struggle with. I'm sure both of you could relate as well as some of our listeners who are small business owners and entrepreneurs. But how do you find the balance of working in your business versus working on your business?
Can I get back to you on that? I think that is something that comes with time. I don't know if you've ever listened to any of like Sunera Madani stuff. And one of the things that she will always say is, business doesn't get easier, you just get better at it. And I think part of getting better at it is figuring out where your strengths are, where your weaknesses are, and then being very intentional or deliberate about spending your time working on the things that you are good at. We've been doing sort of that informal book club here about Buy Back Your Time. And that is a work in progress for me in terms of putting a value on your time and deciding the things that you should be working on. Now, sometimes you are in your business, and there's no way around that.
Yeah.
But for me, setting aside time to network, time to spend time outside of here. The new business that you want is beyond your doors. And so we find that balance here of cultivating the relationships that we have with our members here, but then also for me, it's spending time outside of here sometimes and carving out time to sit down and work on the business and the strategy. Like when I, meeting with you and like, what's our marketing strategy? Where are we 4 months from now? What are we going to be? Like, you and I spent an hour yesterday talking about what does the spring look like or the summer of 2025. So that's working on the business.
Yeah.
For me, little things like that.
If you were to give a tip to those listening of what percentage of their time as a business owner they should spend networking and being part of a community, what would you recommend? Like, how much time should be dedicated to these efforts?
I don't know how I would even come up with that formula, but when you started asking that question, that my gut reaction was like 25%.
I like it.
At least a couple of times a week, I try to have lunch with someone or go to a networking event because there is a plethora of networking events.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
in this area for business owners and entrepreneurs. And so, at least 2 or 3 times a week. So I'm going to say 20 to 25%.
I think that's a good
Also,
number.
depending on where the stage of your business is.
Yeah. I think during COVID, we were all inside and there wasn't a lot going on from an event perspective, networking, everyone was working from home. And I think now as business owners and being a professional, we're craving that community again. We want to go out and do these networking events and having lunches and doing all those things. So I think that is a good feedback too of, hey, take 2 to 3 days a week and go to lunch and chat with someone new, or book a coffee with someone that you didn't know before, or chat it up with someone in the kitchen at the Sapphire Suite. I think, just being intentional about building your network is something that I think is important too for working on your business.
Yeah, even professional development type things like webinars or different things like that. If you can't necessarily get outside the walls of your business, but taking some time to hop on some professional development calls that are that can turn into networking events in and of themselves, in terms of you're meeting people on those calls. But I also think that as you grow in your business, or as you grow as a business owner, depending on the phase of your business, getting very selective about the networking events that you choose.
Yeah.
Is the ROI
Absolutely.
there?
Yeah.
Because it can get expensive. It can get to a point where it's exhausting if you're doing a lot of that. And so determining which events or which types of networking events are most fruitful for you in your business. Some just feed the soul because you just love the people, and they're fun events or they're cool places.
And the Sapphire Suite has some great workshops.
So, some good art.
Yeah, tell us about some of the events that you have here at the Sapphire Suite that can help with professional development and beyond.
We do. So we've been pretty low key the month of December because people are just inundated.
Yeah.
In the month of December, planning for holidays and those types of things. But what we try to do at least a couple times a month is we will do like a power hour, either a luncheon or a breakfast. So not only is it a networking opportunity, it's a professional development opportunity. A few months ago, we started doing sweet mingles, what we call our sweet mingle. And we do that in the evening because that allows professionals in the community who are not necessarily business owners or entrepreneurs, or maybe they're both. Maybe they're a professional in the community and they have a side hustle. It allows them to be able to come out in the evening to an event. And so we do the sweet mingles. We've got some workshops coming up in January. We've had some informal book clubs where just a group of 8 or 10 will say, "Hey, I've heard this book keeps popping up on my radar. Let's meet over lunch and discuss it once a week for 6 or 8 weeks," or something like that. And then we do some master classes. So either some of our members or myself and another member or myself will teach some master classes, things like traction, E-Myth, the Power Your Plan workshop to help you write a business plan.
I love that. That's awesome.
A lot of good
Great.
stuff.
Yeah, so much good stuff happening here at the Sapphire Suite.
We love to have speakers come in. So if you're out there listening and you want to come and share your expertise, we're always looking for speakers to come in and speak at those events, or sponsor if you'd like to sponsor one of those luncheons or a sweet mingle or something like that, and have your branding on stuff and take a few minutes.
Yeah, Lindsay
Share about your business.
used to teach a lot of classes. That's how we met.
Oh, Lindsay, when are you coming back?
2025.
Like January 1st? Like,
No, I would love to come back and
Yeah,
we
we'd
could
love
talk
that.
about doing a workshop. That'd be amazing.
yeah, we would love that.
So, what would you say to small business owners who are hesitant about taking big risks or trying new things with their business?
Again, I think I would default back to earlier about doing your due diligence, but go for it. My gosh, life is short. And I am not necessarily a risk taker. Like I said, I have a million business ideas. I am not necessarily a risk taker. I do feel like I've always been maybe a smart risk, evaluate, sometimes maybe not so smart. That I think really doing the evaluation, but go for it. Like, figure out why it won't work. Start with that. Like, why would this not work? Like, what would derail this? What are the weaknesses of it? And then asking for help. Like, before you make that final move, again, find some folks that you trust and that have experience in that area and ask them. Very rarely have I asked another business owner to take a look at something or to let me run an idea by them that that they didn't say yes or willing to give time or help. So I think being smart about it, but go for it.
Go for it. I love it. Great advice.
Yeah.
So what is one key takeaway that you'd love for business owners to take from this conversation? We've kind of talked about a lot of different things.
Find your community. Find your community of business owners that will support you and lift you up and, the good, the bad, and the ugly in terms of find that community, because it is lonely. We talk about that a lot. It is lonely, which I think business is hard enough. You'll hear me say that, just all the things that come with it, like we were talking about earlier, from just running a brick and mortar or running a business and all the things that come with that, and then clients and relationships and networking, and especially as you're starting out and if you're solo, find your community, because the load feels so much less heavy when you have that community. Or you can walk into a place like this, and obviously what we do here, you can walk into a place like that and it's like, oh, thank goodness so-and-so's here. I can run this by them before I hit reply to this client.
Yep.
Or before I make this decision that could potentially impact my business.
That's how I feel when I walk in and see you.
Oh, good, Tammie's here. Positively or negatively.
I love it.
And that is why I think that's probably one of the things that I find the most rewarding in this, is not only seeing members thrive and help one another and the relationships that come out of it. Like you've heard me say this, I love coming in and seeing a table of women where, gosh, they come from, like, they're vastly different industries, but they are solving, a similar challenge together. Or when if someone comes to me and says, hey, can we get on a whiteboard, or would you proof this email for me? Or I have a difficult client that I'm dealing with, can I talk through some things with you? I just need someone to sort of validate what I'm thinking. Or give an experience, share, the term we use, IQ, brain trust, and all.
Yeah, that's great. I love that you built that here. It's so nice.
It's fun.
Awesome. Well, Tammie, is there anything else you'd like to share with our listeners today? This has been such an insightful, amazing conversation. Thank you so much.
No, just shout out to all the business owners out there who are, trying to get it done. And this is a time of the year where it can prove challenging, and, or after the holidays. And so, shout out to those that are trying and living out their dream. And sometimes it's not always easy to work for someone else, but it's definitely not easy always to be a business owner. But there are a lot of them out there getting it done and just crushing it, that you don't even see, that you don't see.
Yeah.
And where can people connect with you or learn more about the Sapphire Suite?
Sure. You can learn more about the Sapphire Suite on our website, which is thesappphiresuite.com. You can find us on Instagram or Facebook at the Sapphire Suite, LinkedIn as well. And then you can connect with me personally on LinkedIn. It's Tammie L. T-I-E, not a Y. You can connect with me on LinkedIn. I love when people reach out and connect on LinkedIn or even on social media.
Perfect.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Tammie,
Yeah, thank you.
for being here and being a sponsor for the second season of Dose of Social. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. What an honor to be here. I will add one thing. I should have said this. If you go to our website, you can sign up for our newsletter and get a free day pass.
Oh,
Come and
free
spend
day
the day and be my guest for the
Definitely
day.
want to check it out.
Yes, it's amazing.
You're in the area.
Come here.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Thank you, ladies.
All right. Thanks so much for listening to Dose of Social.
Thank you.
We're out.